Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Lori Nolte, and I'll be presenting to you how German physical education teacher education programs work. For right now, I'm going to speak with you about recruitment and coursework for PEAT programs in Germany. I have organized this into a few layers. I'll briefly go over the very early years, 1800 to 1900, and then 1900 to the end of the World Wars, and talk about the founding fathers of PEAT programs that had the most significant influence on current practices today. Next, I'll go over the time frame of Germany when it was divided between East and West Germany and highlight some of the differences in philosophy and recruitment and coursework processes that they had during that time. And finally, I'll talk about what I call the post-wall years, which is basically the current practices still in use today with the marriage of the two philosophies between East and West Germany. So let's begin. There are two founding fathers of physical education, teacher education. The first is Friedrich Ludwig Jahn, who lived from 1778 to 1852. He was the first to attempt to qualify students to instruct their peers through outdoor gymnastics parks areas located in Berlin and other major cities. These gymnastic parks morphed into what we now know better today as track and field stadiums. There's a famous one in Berlin named after him right here. During his era, qualified recruits were people who were able to physically perform these gymnastic moves with some level of expertise. Knowing how to and being able to perform gymnastic movements were criteria number one for potential future physical educators. Coursework during this time basically didn't exist. It was all about the practical physical performance on the job. In other words, all education happened in an apprenticeship format. Jahn struggled in his endeavors to promote physical education because of a ban on gymnastics from 1820 to 1842. This ban was due to the Kaiser's fear of power in assemblies of parties such as sports clubs. When people got together for training, it was viewed as a possible threat to the monarchy due to their organization and eventual legitimate requests or demands on behalf of the people. In 1819, Jahn was arrested and thrown in prison for 6 years for his organization and teaching of future PE teachers. He was seen as using PE to strengthen future soldiers for revolution against the current reigning Kaiser. However, all was not lost. Beginning in 1850, gains were made for the German gymnastics that Jahn had created. It became an obligatory subject in all state normal schools, established in Berlin, Dresden, Munich, and Stuttgart. Moving on to the 1900s, Karl Diem has a slightly different story as far as his relationship with the ruling government. During the 1900s, he was appreciated by the rising fascist regime as contributing to the superiority of the German race. Karl Diem developed the first institution of modern sport teacher training at the university level. It is called the Berlin College of Exercise and was founded in 1920. He attempted to add the academic knowledge of science of movement to Jahn's pre-established performance of movement as criterion for potential PE teachers. Recruitment of potential PE teachers still relied heavily on physical performance. However, any of these skilled young men could attend coursework and instruction for first a half year, followed by a 1-year course. Upon successful completion of final examinations, they were certified as gymnastics teachers, even though the individual usually had not undergone pedagogic training as a teacher. Beginning in 1920 and continuing through 1945, a sort of revolution occurred when the Germans began to see physical education as part of the educational ideal of a healthy and well-educated individual. Because of this, 7 additional types of sports were added to the gymnastics curriculum. Diem went on to establish a string of university institutes for physical training where for the first time a student could choose physical education as a recognized academic subject for the teaching profession. This was the official beginning of the 2-phase teacher academic training process, with academic theory as the first portion and practical student teaching as the second. After the World Wars, Germany was split into the Soviet-occupied East Germany, known as the German Democratic Republic, and the British, American, and French-occupied West, known as the German Federal Republic. During this time, each side took Diem and Jahn's philosophies and made it their own. In the GDR, PETE was organized as a fully integrated one-subject study course, with an educational phase of 3 to 4 years at a teacher training college such as Potsdam or an Institute of Sports Science like in Rostock, followed by a 2-year student teaching phase for a total of 5-year program. This was the first fully integrated PE pedagogy single degree route without having to use PE as a minor as a way to diplomacy. The West Federal Republic of Germany included 8 different sports and focused on the theoretical areas of biomedical, psychosocial, sport history, and didactics. In this system, the students could not choose PE teaching as a major, only a minor to go along with another subject teaching area for their degree. The practical portion of the program, the student teaching, was much shorter than the 2-year period that the GDR did, and usually only took about 6 months. After the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, East and West philosophies merged. Today, the Western two-phase approach with the study of at least 2 subjects with PE remaining as a minor is generally the most common basis for PETE programs today. The one-degree program approach from the GDR has dropped, but the longer practical student teaching period remains between 1 and 1.5 years. Currently, there are 2 types of teachers, Beamtes and Fachlehrern. First, I'll start with Beamters. They are full-blown teachers, and as the PE teachers of the 18th and 1900s, they are expected to teach more than just PE when they graduate and usually go through university with the core subject as a major with PE as a minor. Here is a table of hours a teacher in 2 different scenarios would take. In the first column is what a Beamter elementary school teacher would do if they majored in mathematics with a minor in PE. 720 hours of each subject are required, along with another 480 for pedagogical psychology. This is a total of 1,960 hours before they even begin their student teaching. In the second column is an example of a secondary Beamter teacher majoring in biology and minoring in physical education. 1,024 hours are required for each of the subject areas, plus another 512 hours in pedagogical psychology. This is a total of 2,560 hours. For something for you to have familiar to compare that to, that's about 170 credit semester hours at a university in the United States.